Hi, John. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. So, take me back to a few years ago when a guy with 300,000 followers DM'd you and says he's ready to monetize his audience. You ask him one question, and then the whole thing fell apart. Tell me that story.
Well, the whole thing fell apart for him, and the whole thing kind of formed the genesis for me. So I won't say one person lost, one person gained, but I definitely know I gained. So this was about 2023, and I've been building, writing, and creating online since 2017. So this was a number of years into my journey. And I like to say when I kind of stepped into the big leagues, because really I started writing on Quora and then medium.com. And then in 2022, Twitter, in 2023, LinkedIn. And in about 2023, I had built my audience enough on Twitter X and this gentleman with a gigantic audience. And the audience is important for what I'm about to say later. DM'd me. And I had been familiar with this individual just in terms of his content and seeing him on my feed. He messaged me, hey, I have amassed this audience and I'm ready to monetize. What should I do? Again, I had been doing this for a number of years. I've helped clients. I'd helped myself build a 6-figure business online. And the first question I asked him was, cool, who specifically is your audience? And I don't remember if it was like right away he texted me back or if it was within a couple of hours. But he said, what do you mean? And right there, I had this crystallization of, I think, a trap. So many people, whether they have robust audiences or they want to just start creating and monetizing online, fall into, which is the audience first trap. Because we see it in so many different places. We see that once you have an audience, it's like printing money. Or once you have an audience, you can create a product and sell it to your followers. But the problem people run into is there's a difference between content spreading and content activating an audience. What I mean by that is you can find trends, you can find hacks, you can find templates, you can find ways of structuring content, whether this is video, written, whatever, that spreads like wildfire. But does it actually target a specific person who's dealing with a specific problem that needs a specific solution to solve it? This individual did not have any of that. And so it was the genesis of my private program now, Creators Who Convert, which is building a business around your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and actually starting with the offer first rather than the audience, because once you have the offer, you know what the content is going to be. You know who you're targeting. You know what your solution is going to be. So everything forms as a result of it.
Yeah, super interesting. And, so it all starts with your offer. It's it's one of those lines that everybody sort of nods along to. It makes sense. But what does offer first actually mean when you dig into the details? Where does someone even start when it comes to the offer and the offer first?
This is the first time I've ever thought about it this way. And we can get granular, we can get super nerdy on it. But if you think about like people 70 years ago, let's say like the 1950s, and they wanted to start a business. Obviously they didn't have the internet. Maybe they could do some like mail-in catalog business or something like that. But let's say it's like brick and mortar. They don't think, okay, I need the traffic first, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to sell once I get the lease on the building. No, it's like, are you going to do a corner mart? Are you going to do a repair shop? Are you going, like, you figure out the offer first. Who am I going to help? What is my skill? And what solution am I going to provide? Then I find the building and I get the foot traffic coming in. And for some reason, I feel like we forgot about this in 2026 or even the last 8 to 10 years. And so my whole mission when people come to me is, how do we reverse that? How do we fix it and reverse it? And so getting nerdy about an offer, I break it down to there's 4 very important parts of an offer. And I like alliteration. So I call them the 4 Ps of an offer. There's the promise. This is ultimately everything starts here. This is what I'm going to help you solve if you enter into my world. The trick with a good promise is making it ultra specific. Again, we can dial in, we can talk about different specificities of an offer, but that's like everything starts there with an offer. The next P is a part that a lot of people miss. A lot of people hit the promise, right? I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds in 2 pant sizes for men over 40 in 12 weeks, or I will train with you until I do. Cool. A lot of people get that. That's kind of like older, a more foundational level of an offer that a lot of people understand. But the next P is something that most people don't know. And this is a huge defining factor of how I help people build offers. The next P is path. We've outlined the promise. The path is, how are we going to articulate in language us achieving with different milestones that promise, right? So if we look at the promise that I just wrote up in 25 seconds, I'm going to help you lose 20 pounds in 2 pant sizes for men over 40 in 12 weeks, or I'll train with you until you do. Okay, cool. A lot of people want that. How are you going to help me get it? Well, maybe the first milestone is we're going to get together on a call and we're going to dial in your exact custom diet and macro plan, right? I'm writing all of this in seconds, so I'm not in love with it, but it's just a rough draft. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to, after week 2, we're going to dial in your custom 3-day-a-week workout plan for workouts that you can complete start to finish in 45 minutes or less. And once we do that for 4 weeks, we'll have lost our first 5 pounds, right? We're getting specific and showing once we reach these benchmarks, we're getting closer and closer to the ultimate promise. And then the third is we're going to streamline it with 1 extra workout a week that you can do in 25 minutes because you'll plateau after week 6. Everyone plateaus after week 6, right? So we have our promise, which is we're going to help you lose weight, and our path, which is articulation of how we're going to get there. Okay. So those are the first 2 Ps. The third P is what I call pressure. Okay. And the analogy I use to articulate pressure is, imagine a concert. A couple of years ago, my sister, God bless her, went to a Taylor Swift concert. Okay. I won't give the exact figure that she paid for it, but it was astronomical. I was able to go to Argentina with my wife, go to Buenos Aires, go to Patagonia for 9 days and fly back for less than it cost my sister to go to Taylor Swift for 1 night in our hometown, our home city. Okay. So it was a lot of money. Concerts are perfect pressure mechanisms with the offer that just happen by nature of what a concert is. We can do that with our offers online, with our goods and services. The pressure that they have is urgency and scarcity, right? Scarcity is, we're in a stadium for Taylor Swift, and let's say there's only 60,000 seats. We have a cap. We have a limit. We cannot go over that. So the tickets are scarce. You need to act if you want to get a spot at the arena. The urgency is Taylor Swift is live on August 4th, 2026. She's not live any day after that in your hometown, your city. That's added pressure by nature of what a concert is that gets people to act, rather than if there wasn't the urgency and scarcity for this artist that everyone wants to see. Now, we can put that in our offers. I only work with 3 people a quarter because when I work with them, we go hard in helping you lose 2 pant sizes and 20 pounds in 12 weeks. Okay? Urgency. I start on this day every single month. Doors close afterwards. So we can double up and add pressure rather than, you need to change your life. You're unhealthy. You're 20 pounds overweight. You don't have the energy to play with your kids. You're 46 years old now. And every day that you wait, this gets harder and harder to reverse. Oh, but James and his program are going to be there next week, so I'll put it off until next week. Oh, next week. Oh, they're there next month. I mean, I just got a lot going on with work, and there's a lot going on. We as human beings will find an excuse to rationalize ourselves out of taking action over and over and over again. This is just the nature of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can create a mechanism that actually helps our end user and our end client, our end student, take action and better their life, better their business, better their relationships, whatever your offer is, we're doing two people an act of service in doing so. Them, the recipient, because if our offer, if our knowledge, skills, and abilities actually make change in the end user, we're doing them a service. And then we're doing ourselves a service because we're creating an environment where action is more often taken than not. And so that's the third important part of an offer. And then the last one is pricing. A lot of times people will say, well, I need to make $10,000 a month. And so I'm going to do an offer at $2,500 and I'm going to look to convert 4 people a month, $10,000. There are ways of manipulating the prices of things and stretching it out, either X amount up front, turning it into you pay weekly over the 12 weeks, whatever. But when we lower the initial entry, the resistance to enter, the resistance to pay $2,500 is a lot more than whatever 2,500 divided by 12 is over 12 weeks. That first payment is easy. So there's ways of manipulating the price over the length, the lifespan of the offer that helps people act sooner rather than, I don't know if I can pay $2,500 right now, even though I know I need the energy, I need the health, I need all those things that we talked about. A lot there, but that's the making of a solid offer that converts.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. You say there's a lot there, but I love how you're breaking this down into the 4 Ps. So, those 4 main elements make up an offer. What's the difference between an offer and a product? What's the main difference between, because I find so many times people will start talking about their product, and that's not necessarily, a product creator is in love with their product because it's their baby, but then it's not necessarily what the customer or prospect is actually interested in. What's the main difference, and how does somebody kind of get away from talking about their product and talking about, the offer?
I think there's 2 ways to describe this. The simplest 35,000 foot view of it is the offer is the solution, right? How am I going to help you jump over this bridge, jump over this gap that helps you go from pain to solution? And this is kind of the most fundamental way of articulating it. There is a more tangible answer too, whereas my offer is I'm going to help you increase your revenue, really your profit of your business, with 1 post and 1 email a day. That's it. And 1 offer, right? Now, a product I have within that offer is I have a piece of software that I give my clients that allow them to work through using proprietary AI to help coach them through their knowledge, skills, and abilities and put it in an articulated promise with an articulated path, no-brainer pricing, and just natural pressure. That's a product that actually helps them work through it. But the offer is the same. I'm going to help you increase the profit of your business with 1 post and 1 daily email, right? It's a little bit more specific than that, but I think that's just the broad strokes of it. And here, even nailing down, I think this is why offer first is so important, is because when I have that, right, I'm going to help you increase your profit with 1 daily post and daily email. That's my offer. I can create multiple products within that aren't even software, right? So what do I mean by that? My core is I'm going to install my system for you, right? That's my big high ticket core offer. I'm going to help you increase your profit, and I'm going to install it for you. As much as I can, I'm going to reach through the screen, I'm going to hold your hand, and I'm going to install every single element of my system into your business. That's one product of my offer. If I were to work down, both in price and proximity, we're going to do it as a group in a cohort over X amount of weeks. That's a different product of my offer, right? I have a membership where it's done with me, right? We have different office hour calls. I'm always doing different live master classes that are helping accelerate my students' businesses. But that's another product within the same offer. Again, all the same outcome. It's a different way of delivering it to the end user. And I have live master classes, and I package and bundle those pre-recorded live master classes into different products. So that's how I would articulate the difference between a product and an offer. I think a lot of people honestly use them interchangeably, and that does muddy the waters a little bit because they're thinking, well, I may have exhausted this product, so now I need to create another one. And what they end up doing is creating a different offer, meaning they create a totally different outcome. I have one outcome that I offer in a bunch of different ways, and those are my products.
Yeah. And I see how a part of your 4Ps way of articulating an offer, the path part, you're kind of, the products fit into the path part because they're unique differentiators. I've created this product to achieve this step, which is part of the path, which achieves the ultimate outcome. So it's kind of tied into that part as well, right?
Yeah, and this is just coincidence. I really didn't have this as part of my curriculum, but all roads lead back to the letter P. Really, it's proximity. Everything is the same promise, right? If we look at a personal trainer, I'm going to show up to your house and do cook the food for you and walk you through and actually train you in your basement to help you lose the 20 pounds and 2 pant sizes. Cool. If we take a less of a step of proximity, I'm going to call you every single morning and turn on my Zoom, and I'm going to be I'm going to coach you and push you through the workouts every single day. If we lose a level of proximity, every Monday, I'm going to send you your weekly plan. And with each level of proximity that we're losing, we're keeping the same outcome, but just more onus falls on top of the actual user, the client. We're dropping the price because we're doing less proximity when we're offering that same promise at the end of the day.
Yeah, really cool. You also talk about having a big idea. So, part of this is like one big idea that then everything else wraps around too. Or maybe I'm confusing that because there's the one offer that everything wraps around, and then where does the one big idea fit into this as well?
One big idea is really a way of kind of making magic out of positioning. Everything that I've told you up until this point isn't a new idea. Okay. I'm not the first person ever to come up with offer first, but through that, it creates a North Star of how I can articulate my mission, my vision, my knowledge, skills, and abilities to the people who need it most. And through that, there's various ways of doing it, of taking a contrarian approach to things, of finding alliteration through concepts and creating mechanisms. Like the 4 Ps of an offer is just a mechanism, right? And even a mechanism isn't an original idea by me. But I've built my one big idea around the concept of one, right? You have a 1-page offer. A 1-page offer, that's a sales page, okay? You have the 1 funnel, 2 incomes. This is essentially value ladder ascension, right? That's not an original idea by me, but I've created my big idea by putting the idea of one behind it, okay? I also have the 1 post a day. Well, that's just top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel content, right? And so I've just taken ideas that already exist. I forget who said it, but I really like this idea, and I help my students with it because they always get worried. If you take someone's idea and pass it off as your own, it's plagiarism. But if you take 1,000 different people's ideas and pass them off as your own, it's creativity. And so if you can just take ideas from all around you within your space, within your niche, within your industry, and just use language to almost package it in a unique and creative way, it helps blossom your one big idea. And people in my world know, one, like every product, going back to a question we had, every product revolves around the idea of one. The one post a day funnel, a page offer, I have all these things, the one conversation conversion. And everyone knows, we could ask my email list right now, like, what is the core of John's mission? It's offer first. And so there are ways of just articulating and packaging your offer into this now becomes what you're known for.
Yeah. And it is true, you go to your website, join a newsletter, go to your social media, and the messaging is so congruent because you've just got this fundamental essence of what it is that you're trying to say and articulate, and then it just shows in all different channels and ways that you're putting your message out there, and it creates this congruency, and then it's so easy to follow. And like you say, everybody on your email list or whatever would know specifically what it is that your mission, because you've just made that so clear, because it's all succinct and congruent everywhere.
And it doesn't happen overnight. Like, don't get me wrong. My current offer right now, Creators Who Convert, is multiple iterations of the same concept articulated in different ways. But even if we were to look at businesses way bigger, Russell Brunson, I think a lot of your audience and probably you even know who that is. His big idea, you're one funnel away, right, from changing your life. Or Cody Sanchez, boring businesses. But there's also, if we look at Russell Brunson, there's Samcart, there's Thrivecart, there's all these different tools that help you create checkout sequences and funnels. But Russell Brunson was able to encapsulate his one big idea into your one funnel away. There's plenty of people that show you how to undertake the opportunity that is the silver wave of all these baby boomers retiring and buying their businesses, right? But Cody succinctly put it as boring businesses can change your life, right? And I don't think that they just woke up one morning early on in their career and that's what it was. Now, I have a tool that I use to help people get there, and we take 9 different dimensions that ask you a series of questions to help you look at it through different frames of like, oh, this sticks, or this doesn't make any sense. No one's going to understand what this is, to help you get there. But to say you get your one big idea on the first shot, if someone's telling you that they can help you do that, they're either lying or they've hit $1 billion business that hasn't been discovered yet. There's no middle ground there. It takes time. So
for sure, it takes a lot of time. Well, take me back, because you're about a decade online, something like that. When you mentioned you started out in Quora, which is an OG platform, and then Medium to 10 million views plus, and then you went to Twitter, x.com, and then LinkedIn. So across all those channel and platform shifts, what compounded, and then what actually turned out to be noise? Like what really built for you?
So here, this was just happenstance, and I'm very grateful that my journey progressed through this route, because I wrote my first post online in 2017. So in early 2017, I was working as a fine dining server in Los Angeles, and I was running their wine program. And I just know these guys, their inventory was so out of whack. We had expensive bottles of wine. We could turn this into a wine podcast if you really wanted to, but I won't for the sake of your audience. I just knew they were hemorrhaging money, especially in their food costs and their beverage costs. They said it was an accidental electrical fire in the ceiling. I think that they burned the place down for insurance. I mean, it was West Hollywood, California. It's the wild, wild west out there. Anyway, I was unemployed, and so I started writing online. And I found Quora first. I don't remember how it happened. It's almost like when you discover something new, there's like cookie crumb trails that appear in the periphery, and you just start to follow those cookie crumb trails. So I started writing on Quora, and I feel so blessed that my journey started here, because for those who are unfamiliar with what Quora is, it stands for QU, question, OR, or answer. So it's almost like Yahoo Answers, but back then, almost 10 years ago, it was like worth your time. Now they've kind of gamified the platform, and it's a little bit weird. They use it just to train AI or whatever. But essentially what it was is it was a platform of millions of people who were asking questions that Google couldn't provide the answer to. So a lot of times, that was their positioning at least. So a lot of times they were like, how do you do this? And it was like internal motivation things, or sometimes they'd ask questions that Google could answer. I started answering questions about wine. Those were my first, because I was like, this is what I know. And I had also been at a place where I was on unemployment, I was kind of aimless, and I started reading a lot of self-help books. So I started to answer questions that people were asking about, like, I'm 22 years old. So I was 27 at the time. I was 22 years old. I'm in a rut. How do I go about changing things? And I had been sharing my story. Like, I just went through a fire, lost my job, never thought I'd be on unemployment. I was also unhealthy. I was drinking more than I should have back then. And I started to garner attention. Now, the key here was I didn't realize it in the very beginning. Now I see it clearly. Those questions were writing prompts that were hand delivered to me. They were market validation, because you could see a question. You could see how many people were following that question. And then you could see how many people were viewing the answers. Again, right away in the first month, I didn't realize what I was doing. I found a way to go into the back end of each question and see how new was it, how much was it being followed, which meant this is popular. This is a topic people care about. So I was finding all of those questions and answering them. Within 3 months, I had hit millions and millions of views, both tactically and, again, I wasn't writing just into the void. People are always saying, this is a bugaboo of mine, consistency is everything. And it's like, okay. The next question that comes up is, well, what the hell do I consistently write about? Because I can write about anything, but anything is such a huge bucket. Most people aren't going to care about that anything. You have to, again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, you have to talk to a specific person about a specific problem and offer them a specific solution. Quora gave me an entire landscape of that 3-part equation. So then after a few years, I had built up a mental Rolodex of what people actually cared about. I'd started to grow my audience. So then I started to look at audience-related questions. I'd started to build websites. I started to look at website building related questions, monetization related questions. And so I, even still to this day, most of my clients are not core beginners, but I do have some come through the door. And if they literally have no clue where to start, I say, well, look at your interests, and then we're going to go into Quora. You can still use the platform for that. But I say, we need to start to learn in your space what people are asking about. And so I guide them to that. But yeah, then I started to package all of that on Medium. This is about 2018.
Right.
Grew a substantial following over there. And this helped me realize that it's not, a lot of people fall into this trap where it's like, how do I hack the algorithm? Is it threads or is it long form content on X? Is it carousels or is it posts on LinkedIn or is it video? I come back to, it really doesn't matter. what the like how you package it, as long as the message in there resonates. Again, the message comes back to specific person, specific problem, offering a specific solution.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, I love how Quora was like your training ground for that. Basically, all that market feedback. What are your, because you're pretty nifty when it comes to AI right now. You mentioned, you have a tool where you can figure out your one big idea. I'm assuming that's like an AI tool that you've got where you take people through like a chat thread to figure that out, with the ideation. What are your thoughts now on researching with AI, you leveraging AI in your business to create content? And are you leveraging stuff when you put your content out there?
Oh, absolutely. So the two big things, and then I'm working on a third thing. The two big things, the big tools that I use and my private students also use is the 1 hour offer. Again, all roads lead back to one in my world, which sets up parameters of things we've already talked about, right? More than just this, but definitely the 4 Ps. That's how you craft an offer. And it acts as an AI coach to talk you through what your promise is, what your path is, what your pricing is, and what your pressure is. But it will also not let you take the easy way out, because people come in and say, I want to help people find fulfillment in their life, right? That's not an offer at all. So my 1 hour offer AI coach will be like, that doesn't pass. We're going to keep, what does fulfillment mean? Right. And then they'll say purpose. Well, nope, that doesn't. What does purpose mean? Right. And it ends up getting to a place where I have a test that I used to do manually with my clients. And this is where AI has been a godsend. I call it the point to it test. If you were to line up 100 of your dream clients and you were to share your promise with them, would they be able to point to the exact promise without adding any extra context? If yes, you pass, it's a clear offer, right? Or it's a clear promise at least. If no, if it's, I help people find fulfillment in their work life and personal life. Well, no one can point to what fulfillment is without any added context. It could mean a higher salary. It could mean a better sex life with their partner. It could mean better relationship with their kid. Like, fulfillment has no point to it, right? So it sets up those parameters and it spits out an offer that's ready to be pressure tested and validated either via conversation or your existing audience or email list. And I give you the plan to validate it. The other tool that I use with AI that's been a godsend is what I call 1 minute content. All roads lead back to one. What this is it takes a collection of your sampled work already. It fine tunes it into ways that either act as top of funnel, middle funnel, or bottom of funnel, which is either attract eyeballs, nurture eyeballs, or convert eyeballs. And it helps you come out with a bunch of different, really they're drafts, but I see them more as ideas, to help you speed up just your content output. And then you start to act more as the editor than the writer. Because I have tools that help people start from either idea, or we can even go to like Quora questions, from idea to post, or idea to tweet, or idea to carousel, whatever it is, idea to video script. But what I've found is if we can do idea to 20 different drafts, you choose the draft and now you edit it to make it sound more like you, even though it has a whole portfolio of your sampled work. So it will sound like you, but maybe you just need to change a few things. We're going to use AI for that, right? If you don't have a portfolio of previous work, well, then I have templates that you can use, you can plug in and work through it to make it sound like your voice. Because I don't want my clients to sound like me, or I don't want them to sound like AI slop. I want them to be comfortable and for it to sound like them. But I just see it as a fast forward button. And then the last tool right now is, with every client that came through the door, I would do a clarity game plan call, hundreds of these calls. And now what I've done is I've taken essentially the biggest questions that I would ask in those calls and have people walk through, again, another AI coach that walks them through those questions, that tells them, okay, this is what your offer is going to be about. It's not your completed offer, 1 hour offers for that, but here's what your offer is going to be about. We're going to work backwards from the core offer into your different products. These are different levels of ascension we're going to walk you through, starting with one that could be $5 to get people to walk into the door. We're going to blow them away with a $5 product. It even goes into the free lead magnet, but $5 product. And then we're going to figure out the content beyond that, let's say 30 days worth of content. And we're also going to figure out how we're going to nurture them via email. It doesn't do all of that work. That's 1 minute content and 1 hour offer, or 4 to actually create the sales pages, the offers, the things like that. But it gives them, here's where we start. Here's step 1, here's step 2, step 3. So it actually gives them the clarity rather than, okay, I know I need to do an offer. I know I need to write content. Okay, once I do the offer, should I do a cohort? Should I do a group membership? I'm going to need like a lead magnet. What should I do for the lead? It's like, no, here's a lead magnet. Here's the low ticket product. If you want to do a group membership, here's what it's going to be. Here's the pricing perhaps that we should do. Here's a 10-day email sequence that we can do once we start getting people in the door with the lead magnet. So those would be the 3 core AI tools that I use, both myself and with my clients.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's you're packaging up your IP and then productizing them, right? That's kind of like how I'm seeing this in a sequence to help your clients get from where they are to, fulfill the promise of the offer with the path. And the path now includes some of those products. So yeah, that's really cool. That kind of takes it back to what we were talking about earlier.
Because I don't think information is unlimited, right? Anyone can get everything I've talked about somewhere online. They can get the information they need to do that. I think really what moves the needle and what people pay for, and what I'm trying to instill with my own business and my community's businesses, is people pay for judgment now. And for years, people have paid for my judgment because it acts as a fast forward button for them. Now, and I still do live office hour calls. I do live master classes. I'm always in my community helping people out. But let's say I have clients in Australia. I have clients in Switzerland. Let's say I'm sleeping and they woke up with this idea to either add to their offer or reposition their offer or something, and I'm not available. You don't want to lose that idea, but you still want the judgment of how should I proceed forward, right? And AI, I feel, is a tool when packaged correctly, can act as that judgment that helps people take action, because it's so easy to fall into this. There's so much information. Now I'm paralyzed and have no idea what the hell to do, because there's 100 different people telling me 100 different things of how to proceed. Whereas if I find someone I trust to help lead me from point A to point B, and I can borrow their judgment either live or through, again, you put it brilliantly, through packaged IP, I think people are more than willing to accept that, especially with people they trust.
Yeah. And it really is a case of, that emphasizes the path in your 4 Ps, because it's that, people are so overwhelmed online. Like there's just like drowning in information, but starving for the certainty, the clarity, a path that will actually get them to, the promised outcome, and somebody providing that. So that's why that's such a crucial part of the offer, when people are, seeing that offer that you're articulating, and it just gives them the path forwards.
And by definition, AI regresses to the mean, right? Just because of large language models, like it has to.
Mm-hmm.
I am a proud B minus student. Okay. So I regress to the B minus, at least in my world. Whereas if you go into AI, you go into Claude and say, I want to do an offer, I want to help people lose weight. It's going to be like, okay, I'll help you lose weight. But a B minus offer, and obviously I'm saying this partially in jest, like I want to work more with my clients and even my own business, but I am a proud B minus student from high school and college. Because I've created with my IP and my parameters, it won't let you stoop down to a C level, right? If you say, I want to help people lose weight, Claude, without any parameters, will be like, cool, we're going to put that as the promise. We'll help you lose weight. Mine's going to say, that doesn't pass the point to it test. Because one person's going to say lose weight means 100 pounds, and we're going to use GLP-1s to do it. The other person is going to be, well, we're going to lose 5 pounds in 10 weeks, and we're going to go balls to the wall and do CrossFit to do it. Another person is going to be marathon training. Like there's no consistent point to it, right? And so again, when you have people in this world worth their salt and they're leveraging this technology in a way that says, no, I'm going to set it up like this because I've seen validation of it work both for me and other people in my world. And it's not going to let you progress forward unless you check this box. It's going to serve you better in the long run rather than, just going into the wild, wild west of Claude, GPT, whatever tool you use, and regressing to the mean.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you put that as well. And it's funny you say you're a proud B minus student because I was pretty much somewhere there too. It was always a case of, the teacher reports were always like, he's got so much potential, but only if he applied himself, and I always felt like I was leaving that gas in the tank just to almost attached to that identity when I was younger. But yeah, it's
You know what's funny about that is now look at you doing this though, because when it's actually something you want to do,
for sure,
that's when you get fired up about it.
100%.
What's funny too is we actually have moments in my private community where we have like the B minus session, because I have a lot of high performing, climbed the corporate ladder, made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary, and now they want to leverage their knowledge, skills, and abilities into their own business. For me, venturing into the unknown is exciting. But for the high performer, it is like the A+ student. I love my wife to death, but my wife got one non-A in her entire academic career. And it's because one of her college professors got in a car accident and she had to like finish the course with a different professor that was like, we're doing a different curriculum. Crazy. A lot of these people cannot act without like knowing, oh, this answer on this test is going to give me an A. Whereas entrepreneurialism is, you better be a B student to work your ass off and go into the unknown without knowing what the answer is going to be. So I always find it funny that like we actually have these sessions where it's like, no, I'm telling you, this is my judgment. You're going to do this. I can reasonably assume that this is what the outcome's going to be, but it's not like a test where I have the exact answer for you. We're going to have to bite our lip, jump off the edge and just hope for the best. And a lot of my students aren't cool with that, but I'm energized by it. So
for sure, it's totally true. And I think part of the B minus thing is like the rebellion at school as an entrepreneur, because it's like you don't have your own autonomy, you don't have your own freedom then. But when you come out into the big wide world and you want to grow a business as an entrepreneur, that's part of that reason is it's the drive, it's the mission, but it's the freedom and the autonomy of finally like I get to do what I want to do on my terms, and that's it totally shifts into another level. Yeah,
I had a tweet do well recently where it was, I forget exactly verbatim, but it was entrepreneurialism doesn't give you a paycheck at the end of the day on Friday. For most people, that's absolutely terrifying. But for the lucky few, it's the most exciting thing on planet Earth. I'm in the lucky few exciting, like I used to work a sales job,
Mm,
or I got a check and I was fired from that job because I didn't do it their way. Now I don't
mm,
get a paycheck every Friday. I make more money than I did. It's a whole lot scarier, but it's a whole lot more motivating. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
for sure, for sure. You've yeah, I mean, you've built the assets, like you've grown the audience. You know, you've got that. You've provided so much value, so you've kind of got that currency there. Where I'm assuming this here, but you know, you put an offer out there, and you've got so much relationship, so much value in that audience that you've built that. So you'll always have that. You know, you'll never have this sort of feast and famine anymore. What do you tell people that are kind of just starting out, that, you know, they're at the beginning of that, and, you know, they've got to grow an audience, they've got to put offers out there? What would you tell them?
Well, one thing I would push back on is, like, to say when you've reached a certain level, it's, you didn't use this term, but it's smooth sailing. Like, even recently, I've had offers that I've put out that have absolutely flopped, right? Maybe people have bought, but it's like, that's not what they needed. Or maybe the timing was wrong, or whatever it is. I operate under the impression that I'm always having to prove myself over and over, mainly to the reader on the other end, right? The reader on the other end of the LinkedIn post, or the email newsletter, or whatever that person is. Because I mean, we could get into really splitting hairs and say some of them are bots, but at least an email, it's a human being on the other end. And I always have to prove to them that I'm worthy of their time. For people in the beginning, it's not the answer a lot of people want to hear, because they want to hear, oh, I do an email campaign and I make $30,000. But you have to do low leverage work, which is relationship building, which is sliding into the DMs, which is networking, which is asking people to be on their podcasts, maybe, which is asking to be featured in someone's newsletter. Like, I'm having in my email list, I'm having 14,000 conversations at one time, right? For someone just starting out, they need to have a DM conversation, and then a DM conversation, and then a DM conversation, right? On LinkedIn, I have, I think, 105,000 followers. So I'm not reaching 105,000 people with every post, but I'm having tens of thousands of conversations at one time. You don't start there. The offers that you create are going to be way lower leverage, right? I work more one-to-many now. I have a membership. I will do where I actually, again, my higher ticket, I'll install the system for you. For a lot of people starting out, they're going to have to do, all of their offers are going to be installing the system, whether that's installing the training, whether that's installing the consulting, whether that's installing the coaching, whatever it is. And it's going to be a whole lot more time, a lot more proximity, but it's also going to be a higher dollar amount. And you're just going to have to, especially with the content in the beginning, you're going to have to be talking to not that many people for a long time. By a long time, maybe it's a couple of months. But the faster you realize how to talk to a specific person about a specific problem and offer a specific solution, even in your content, the quicker you'll have more conversations at one time.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And yeah, I can see how people have to build that up and build up those levels to get to, yeah, the higher leverage, but makes complete sense. So with everything that you've got going on right now, like what are you most excited about?
The thing that I'm most excited about, I was telling my wife at dinner yesterday, is one, the software that I actually have. It's pretty remarkable with technology today that I'm not a software engineer. My brother-in-law works for NVIDIA. He has a PhD in computer science. I have created software just by the power of my imagination and articulation, right? I'm using AI agents to build the code for me. And my limit is only, can I articulate as clearly as possible to this machine what I'm looking for? And then can I think through, is this a possibility? Right? And I've created software. Now, right now, it's just private with my clients, but I'm getting to a stage where I'm going to be promoting it more as an actual product to be used even without my inside my community. Very excited about that. And then again, I'm working backwards with just a new product as part of my offering of the game plan that actually uses the IP from all of the coaching calls, the clarity calls that I've had, and working that into a systemized structure that gives you, again, here's where you're starting, and here's going to be your next X steps, and exactly what to do, whether I'm with you holding your hand or not. Those are very exciting. And then outside of that, like I bought a new house, so I'm doing a lot of DIY stuff, which is both frustrating but also very exciting.
Amazing, John. There's so many other questions I'd love to ask you, but yeah, we've come to the end of this. Where can people find out more about you?
Find me on socials as probably the best place. It's just at John Brosio. No H. Kind of funny. I don't have the most popular name in the world, but there is a John Brosio. He's an art professor in Los Angeles. So you can find his art. But if you don't care about his art and you want to talk more about the stuff that we talked about today, John Brosio, no H, on pretty much every social, you'll find me.
Amazing. I'll put some of those links in the description as well. And yeah, I really appreciate this conversation. It's been a pleasure having you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, amazing time. Thanks, James.
Thank you.